actually wanted to answer your question. You asked about body count, coming back to body count, which was the last prompt. And you said, why do men want a woman with a low body count? And the answer is because we're not equal. And again, this is going to always be the fallacy and the flaw with feminism, because you're going to be fighting for an equality that does not exist.
Today we are looking at part 2 of the DR DAF Show, Feminist versus Anti-Feminist Women. And I want to focus specifically on the high body count portion of this debate. Now, I'm not going to interrupt this segment. I want you to hear the full conversation from start to finish so you can form your own opinion before I give mine. But I will say this before we begin. This debate highlights something deeper than dating. It reveals differences in mindset, communication, presentation, and how emotional arguments are often presented as objective facts. Welcome back to Kimara Reacts. To my subscribers, thank you for your support. If you are new here, please help this channel grow by subscribing, like and share the video. Don't forget to hit the bell notification. Let's react. As a Black woman myself, I believe we need to have an honest cultural conversation because a very large percentage of Black women vote and align with the same ideological messaging you're about to hear. And the question becomes whether we are thinking critically as individuals or simply adopting narratives that feel empowering in the moment. So listen carefully, pay attention to the arguments, pay attention to how each side communicates. Let's watch the full segment.
Final prompt is, there is no shame in having a high body count. No. Okay.
Well, I think that shame leads to repentance, and repentance leads to changed behavior. And so having a high body count, like, for example, I talk to people in my community, in the Christian community, and I speak with people, and women that do have high body counts, they tend to struggle with like BPD, borderline personality disorder, other personality issues, comparison, even struggling with being satisfied in the bedroom with their husbands because they had so many other sexual partners. So I do think that there should be shame. I think there should be shame if men are sleeping around. I will say that there's accountability for that too. That's not right. So, but this is like our Christian beliefs. So in my Christian beliefs are both of us should be waiting until marriage. So yeah.
Well, I want to address the statistics there, because people with higher body counts do show higher satisfaction in relationships, specifically also like couples who have more sex over time experience happier sexual relationships like that. The other thing, I want to make sure that we're getting the causation right here. Women or people with BPD struggle with higher impulsive sexual behavior. It's not people who are more sexual struggle with BPD. I want to make sure we're not like saying this thing is causing like high sexual behavior is causing BPD. It just happens to be that this group of people, that's like saying that people who have like hallucinations struggle with schizophrenia or whatever. We're like, okay, well, yeah, you're going to look at a population that has a high level of that and say, oh, well, they have high levels of this. Well, yeah, that's like the population you're looking at. That's like saying also that men happen to be more suicidal and then saying like, oh, it's a thing with men. Like it is just the fact about being a male that makes you more suicidal, which is not true. That like you're getting the causation kind of mixed up. I want to make sure that's very clear.
I mean, I feel like I'm going to speak from a whole different type of language where I think that when you are laying down with someone, you're creating a soul tie. So I do think that that will lead to some type of just spiritual bonding.
You have like an argument that there's like a spiritual, or is this just like religious?
Yeah, it's just my religious beliefs, yeah.
Okay, there's no evidence. I mean, I can't argue with that.
Anyone else?
I feel like we're looking at different statistics on the relational satisfaction, because women with higher body counts get divorced at a far higher rate, and they also, it's harder for them to pair bond with their husbands because they've had so many past partners.
So pair bonding research is really not super strong, right? This idea of like oxytocin being released and stuff like that. The pair bonding is quite weak, evidentially. Like it's just increasingly becoming an all-popular theory around sex and sexual bonding, right? It seems like intimacy and closeness over time predicts closeness rather than these sort of things. I guess to kind of speak to the shame piece more directly, being Christian as well, there is immeasurable amounts of sexual shame in the church. So guilt, when you're talking about repentance, guilt drives behavioral change. Shame doesn't. Shame drives lying and closing down and not talking to others. If you look at the rates, for example, of vaginismus, if you guys don't know what that is, it's when sex and any form of penetration is exceptionally painful for a woman. It is 3 times higher in religious groups. As a woman who's been married, I'm married for 8 years. I only have a body count of 1, came from a very Christian background. My Christian background and the tying of sexual shame that was there was so hard on my marriage. And in fact, if you talk to a lot of religious women, they're gonna tell you this, right? A lot of my friends, for example, say, my virginity was so tied to my value that when I lost it to my husband, I thought I was dirty, right? Look at the rates of orgasm amongst religious married women. So shame in general, when it comes to sexuality, seems mostly just to lead to worse outcomes. There can be conversations about impulsivity, right? About choosing who your partner is more wisely. I'm actually open to those conversations. The issue is that when we shame people for their body count, it's disproportionately women, right? If you look at these, and I agree that you're consistent, it's both of you. Look at these red pill podcasts. All they want to do is get their body count up and shame women for giving them that body count, right? This leads to worse relationships.
What is a high body count? I'm curious. What's the number? What's the number?
I don't think it's necessarily a number. I think it's more so the idea of sleeping around for no reason and not having
there's definitely a reason.
Commitment.
I know, right?
Sure. And I would actually agree with the shame part in religion. I think purity culture can be very dangerous. It's seen as more of a sin than anything else, and it's very damaging to women. And we see this even in marriages, like you said, women still think sex is a sin in their marriage. I think that's a problem. So I think it's not so much I don't think we need to bring back shame to women. I think it's more so that being sexual and being promiscuous shouldn't be celebrated as much in our culture as it is.
Sure, but the prompt was specifically, is it more shameful, right? And you guys said, yes, that is necessarily bringing more shame to women for this. Yeah. That's necessarily doing the thing you're opposed to.
Okay, well, I mean, I have a yes or no. So I'm not gonna say no because I don't think that being sexually promiscuous is good for anyone. So that's why I said.
That wasn't the prompt.
Okay. So I wanna chime in here and say that I grew up in a very conservative religion that shamed you for any type of sex outside of marriage. What did that lead to? What did shaming people about body count lead to in that kind of religious situation? People lied about it. Here's the natural truth about humans. All of us have sex, even when we pretend we don't have sex. We are all still having sex. I don't care if it's the 1950s or it's 2025. Every person is having sex. That's just the reality of it. Some people want to have sex less than others. Some people want to have sex more than others. And none of that is about who they are morally as a person. I am a person who happens to consider myself to be hypersexual. It's just part of who I am. It's always been part of who I am. And when I was 14, growing up in a very religious church that told me that who I was as a person was bad, that was really harmful for me as a person. I was depressed as a child. I was on antidepressants. I thought something was broken in myself. And when I finally left that religion and the shackles of the shame that had been placed on me by the patriarchy in that religion, I realized there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just this type of person. And here's the deal. People who like to have sex with a lot of people, we like to date other people who like to have sex with a lot of people. And people who don't like to have sex with a lot of people should date people who don't have sex with a lot of people. And it doesn't say anything about who they are as a person or their value as a human being or how good they are or how bad they are. It means nothing. It means nothing. It's just a bodily function that most people end up doing. And that's how I feel about sex, sexuality. And if you want to get your freak on, get it on. And if you don't, keep it locked up in a chastity cage. I literally don't care. But it doesn't mean anything about you morally. Yeah, I agree with that.
I think a lot of people are using their personal experiences to define their reality. So you say, like, you grew up religious, they told you don't do this, so obviously you're going to do the exact opposite.
That's not why I am who I am.
But I'm just saying.
I just like getting freaky.
Sure, there could be a middle ground there, though. Like, I think having multiple sex partners, like loosely having sex with different men, not only is it dangerous because you can catch STDs, this is why you guys are having abortions, this is why, you know, you're not desired. It's a lot of things that is happening.
I mean, I would say the amount of sex partners I have would indicate I am desired. I mean, that seems like
But you also just said but men value women that they marry, not women that they have sex with. So women that they have sex with is usually just a throwaway.
But again, men who like to have sex like to be with women who like to have sex. So they actually just partner together. Like, that's the reality.
I would disagree.
They just partner together.
I just personally feel like you guys probably don't ever listen to men. Men like women with a low body count. You could just listen to them and they'll tell you this out of their mouth. You don't have to go looking for this.
But again, this is the conversation. The men I like to date are like me, and they like to have lots of partners because we are good in bed and we're experienced.
But you guys are always
and those men want to have a woman who they own their virginity.
You're
Great,
always
you can have
speaking
them.
for the exception and not the rule, though. Why do you guys in all of your arguments today, you represented the exception and not the rule?
I'm asking why do men prefer women with lower body counts? Is it just innate, or is there
these are
a
the
reason?
women that have to bear their children.
Ignorance is bliss, and they don't want to.
These are the women that have to bear their children.
Oh, you guys seem to have a problem a little bit with men, like just comments that you're making, but yet you.
I have no problem with men. I'm straight.
Well,
I love men.
I just heard like multiple just negative comments about men. Like
You
that
do
to put
realize
their-
that men are responsible for 90% of the violent crime.
But you're sleeping with many of them.
Yeah,
so
but
do you
we
like?
still, we still love men.
90% of the violent crime, that still does not represent all men. That still would be the minority
That's my point, though, is
of
that
men.
it doesn't represent
So men
all
are
men. None of us
awesome. Men
are
are great. They
against-
protect you just like they
We're not
assault
anti-men.
women. They protect women. They fight wars so you don't have to.
Other men. They protect you from generally another man. So enough with that.
Okay, that is protecting whom?
But I'm saying
everybody's
I'm not against
okay,
men.
but
You
they're
literally
doing
just
it
put
to
words in my
protect
mouth
their.
saying, "Oh, I'm anti-man." I'm not.
I didn't say you were
straight.
anti-man.
I f- men. A lot of them.
I didn't say you
No,
were
I'm serious.
anti-man.
I'm
pretty
so
sure
tired
that
of
we
feminists
all
being labeled
love
as
men.
anti-man. We're not. In fact, I think feminists help men because we're trying to relieve a little bit of pressure off of them. Like,
But they're
I'm
not asking you
anti-man.
that. They would rather you just respect them. They would just rather respect. They don't care about none
Just
of the
because we
things
don't
you have
worship
to
men
offer.
doesn't mean that we don't like them. I don't put them on a pedestal. I don't treat them like they're princes.
should
I'm not
be
like,
on a
oh, what
pedestal.
great, amazing
They
dudes.
are
I like men just fine. I'm unfortunately straight too.
Question on this side, especially for those of you who love men, right? What can you tell me some things you love about men?
Yeah, some of them have great sense of humor. Some of them are super helpful and funny. And I mean, I like men the same reasons I like women. These are all just human traits. You're funny, you're smart, you're good looking, you take care of me. I have girlfriends like that. I'm not,
But we're not talking about
friends and girls.
We're talking because you said that a lot of people think feminists hate men. I want to know, without talking about women,
Okay.
only talking about men, what do you like about men? About their uniqueness of being. I'm asking the men lovers.
See, I guess I'm trying to think about what makes men unique, though, because when I like a man, they're funny, they're smart, they're good looking. But I could describe a woman with these terms.
Okay, so
too.
you don't think that there are things about men that are unique necessarily?
Well, I mean, I'm born straight, so I can't say like I choose to be attracted to men. Like this is how I was born. You know what I mean? So
Right.
like I can't tell you what that's about, but
Right.
I can say that I like men because they're funny, they're smart. Some of them they can protect me. Some if I need to sometimes. Like I understand why you like men, but I think you can all understand that they have traits that are not good, right? Like, you have men you don't like, right? You know that not all men are great.
Of course. And I want to know what you like about men too, without PG.
PG, right. So I would say a lot of my good friends are men. I think men are smart and funny, just like she was saying. I think that I'm sexually attracted to men. I think they're pretty much the exact same as women. But if I were choosing like to hang out with someone one-on-one, I'd probably pick a woman because I'd probably be safer because they probably wouldn't be trying to, I don't know, have sex with me as an ulterior motive.
So it sounds like a lot of.
But I mean, I just don't see men as like a special category that they need to be worshipped in some separate way. Like, oh, men are really the reason why I'm here. I think the reason why I'm here is women. I tend to worship women more than men.
But don't you know that men allow you to have your rights? Because if it really came down to it, they can just overpower you and take all of your rights.
Actually, I have rights because of women. I have rights because women.
You have rights because
me.
of men.
No, I have rights because of women. No, I'm here because of women.
Okay, and if they declare war on you because of your rights, what happens? You all die.
Okay, you're having a hypothetical conversation about something that hasn't happened. I'm having a real conversation about the fact that the reason why I'm able to vote is not because of men, but because of hard-working women.
And who allowed it?
A few good men.
Who allowed these things to happen? Men, not a few. A lot of good men. A lot of good men. Why do you think there are no woman civilizations? Because men will take them down.
If you create gender into class, then men are also pedophiles and rapists and criminals by your logic. You realize that, right?
Yes, but guess what? That is the minority of them.
I would say men are not rapists. Some men who are
the minority.
do bad things.
The minority. Most men are not
because
criminals.
I am not treating gender like a class.
Right.
I understand that police officers and soldiers are more often men, but that doesn't mean that men who are not those things suddenly get to be like, actually, I'm doing forced doctrine too. No, you've got a small group of young men who are given fiat authority by a bunch of state men to enact rights that all of us agreed on. That's how democracy works. If you want to treat gender like a class, then you have to say men are soldiers and men are rapists. And I think this is not true. Some men are rapists and some men are soldiers.
Well, it just sounds like, so if a man tells you to do something, you're gonna do it. Are you a woman
if
who
he's
falls
my
in
husband,
line?
absolutely. Yes,
If he's your husband,
I'm here to
if you said if he's your husband. Yeah, that makes sense. But let's talk about just some random ass man.
If a random man just asked me to do something.
That's what I'm saying. Like you just a minute ago said, oh, men, if they could come in and just do this, like they can take our rights from us. It's like, yeah, that's why we're here.
But that's just to show you that men are not your enemy.
You make it sound like I'm supposed to fall in line.
But you guys are, everything you're saying is because of the men, because of the patriarchy.
That's not what patriarchy doesn't refer to men.
Not your enemy.
Yeah, no, patriarchy is a system.
I know, but I said because of the patriarchy. Men are not your enemy, is what I'm trying to say. I'm saying that if men didn't want you to have rights, you wouldn't have them. That's what I'm telling you.
So they could be pieces of shit. Like
that just proves that they're not pieces of shit because you have rights.
But how long have we had them? How long?
I can say the same thing about black people. I'm not over here complaining about being black in America.
You have them. 14 countries out of 190 countries, women actually have rights. And what those rights are, there's like a whole chart out of but only 14. Like if you go anywhere else in the world, your rights can be taken away just because of the body you have. And like we're very grateful to be in this country where we do have rights, but we've only had them for 105 years. We have to defend those rights against the bad men that are openly talking about repealing the 19th and like women should stay in the kitchen. Like it's not all men. I have great men in my life. I love them. I just hung out with one of them last night and it's like they're so caring. I do love men. I just don't love all men. I hate abusive men. And good men know that when we're talking about them.
Can I ask one question? What would it take for you guys to no longer be feminism, to say, feminists, to say, hey, we have all equal rights now, we have everything we need. When does the movement stop? Because it seems like it never stops.
It's not going to stop because they now have already overturned Roe v. Wade. We've seen a right that we fought for and won taken back. So now we have to come back to the fight.
They overturned it to give it to the states, which means the people within those states can vote on how they want to do things.
Then it's not a right. If it can be stopped at an invisible line, then it's not a right anymore.
It was never supposed to be there in the first place. It's not in the Constitution. It was never supposed to be there in the first place.
Neither was the women's right to vote or anything else. Like
I personally, very controversial, I don't think women should vote. Because we get women like this that say all of these crazy things.
You don't vote then, right?
No, I do vote.
Why? Lead by example. This is what I'm saying. You're all here using your voice to tell me that you don't want one.
I have to combat women like you, so I have to vote.
No, you're using your voice to tell me you don't want a voice.
So go home. That's why men are more logical, because you guys are always on the wrong side of issues. That's what it is. You don't even know why you're doing the things that you're doing. You just do things and then you blame men.
Let me tell this, like I'm going to say this right now and I hope this gets on camera, and let me say this. Being on the side of a woman's right to vote is never the wrong side of an issue. Every person here is a human being. Voting is a human right. I won't sit here and have a conversation about repealing human rights and pretend that that's a normal conversation to be having. Women deserve the right to vote because we are human beings. We deserve to be treated like humans, and we are not more emotional than men. When a man throws a remote at a television and breaks it after a football game, then have a conversation with me about who's more emotional.
The other thing, though, about the voting thing, though, for me, is that this country was founded because of taxation without representation. And so if women don't vote, then I'm not going to pay then we shouldn't pay taxes, right? Because that's taxation without representation.
Yeah, you don't have to work either. That's the point. Your man will pay the taxes. That is exactly the point. You won't work.
What world?
Okay. I don't know. I actually wanted to answer your question. You asked about body count, coming back to body count, which was the last prompt. And you said, why do men want a woman with a low body count? And the answer is because we're not equal. And again, this is going to always be the fallacy and the flaw with feminism, because you're going to be fighting for an equality that does not exist. I'm not saying better or worse. I'm saying we are different. Now, it depends on what you want intimacy for. If you want to be out there doing it with everybody, you absolutely have your right to do that. Please be loud and proud. We want to see you coming. The men love women like that to have fun with. However, when you talk about love, when you talk about marriage, when you talk about a committed relationship, most of us, when you get to your old age, usually you have one, if you're lucky, like me, two great loves. You don't think about the string of casual sex that has been promoted and think of that like, man, I really got it all in. Most of us don't. You're free to do that if you want to, but I'm just saying, as we age, what's going to really matter is the relationships, the marriages, the families, the relationships that meant something, the intimacy that meant something. You can do as much as you want to with whoever you want to, but I do agree, the way casual sex is promoted now, it is hurting us. It may be fun in the moment, but it's going to hurt us, and we're all going to pay the price for it.
All right. Now that you have heard the entire conversation uninterrupted, let's talk honestly. The first thing that stood out to me was the difference in energy and communication style between the groups. One side appeared more focused on structure, accountability, and long-term consequences. The other side leaned heavily into emotional reactions. And while feelings are valid, feelings alone do not make an argument factual. There was also a noticeable pattern of people speaking in a way that sounded intellectual. But when you listen closely, there was very little substance behind many of the statements. A lot of emotional language, but not a lot of logical support. Another major issue was the constant push toward extreme examples instead of grounded, realistic discussions about relationships and personal decisions. The conversations moved toward worst-case scenarios, and once discussions live in extremes, common sense tends to disappear. Now, let me speak honestly from my own perspective as a Black woman. A large majority of Black women vote alongside and align with similar ideological circles, and we are starting to see communication styles, arguments, and attitudes that mirror what you just watched. And the danger in that is when group thinking replaces individual thought, when emotional narratives become more influential than accountability or critical thinking. Entire communities can start repeating ideas without examining whether those ideas actually lead to stability, healthy relationships, or long-term success. This is not about attacking anyone. This is about encouraging honest self-reflection and independent thought, because empowerment without accountability is not empowerment. Now I want to hear from you. Did one side present stronger arguments? Did emotions outweigh logic? And do you believe modern debates are becoming more performative than productive? Let's have a respectful conversation in the comments. And as always, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.